I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Yes or no? Did you ever take banned substances to enhance your cycling performance?
Yes.
I had no prior knowledge of the planned assault on Nancy Kerrigan.
I am deeply sorry for my irresponsible and selfish behavior I engaged in.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Oops the Podcast. I am Giulio Gallerati. I am joined by Francis Ellis. Francis, how are you?
I'm well. Yep, holding it together.
You look good, rocking that new Oops merch, baby.
How about this? Pretty spiffy, huh?
Tonight, 7 p.m.,
Yeah.
Thursday night, October 15th, Eastern Standard Time. We're doing a little drop. We got hoodies, we got t-shirts, we got masks, and hopefully you guys can pick some of this up.
Yeah, we get involved. Wear your colors. Be proud. We're proud. We love you and appreciate you guys.
Totally. It's sleek. It's simple. It's good stuff.
It's good for wearing either in the house or outside of the house.
Totally. Buy one for your grandmother. Buy one for your children.
Yep.
Everybody can wear it. Francis is rocking the signature Turk.
This is the Turk. Is this turquoise? You call this turquoise?
Is it? Whatever. The Oops Blue.
The Oops Blue. This
Oops
is
shade
the
of
signature
blue.
Oops Blue t-shirt with the logo on the left breast.
Looks great. We got black hoodies. We got gray hoodies. We got pink hoodies.
Yeah.
It's gonna be sweet. So pick some stuff up.
Grab
and
some merch.
Tell your friends.
What's the website we're going to for that?
Oopsthepodcast.com.
Oopsthepodcast.com.
Which I'm excited about too. That's pretty official.
Hell yeah.
Hells yeah,
Dude,
bro.
speaking of sweatshirts and sweat,
Yeah.
I have joined a new gym. I've joined Crunch Fitness. This is not an ad for Crunch Fitness because I don't know if it's good yet.
This is also funny because before we started recording, Francis told me he had begun working out, and he goes, "It's great. I feel like myself. I was starting to feel like a little bitch."
Dude, I was such a bitch. I had become a bitch. People were talking to me differently. Like guys were giving me shit more. Once your shoulders come back into play, people are a
stop
little
fucking
more.
with you?
They give you a little more room on the sidewalk.
I love that.
All that kind of stuff.
I love that, dude.
So this is a holding gym because I'm gonna go to a better gym once it opens, but it's not open yet. So right
Lifetime
now,
Fitness?
I'm gonna join Lifetime again.
Sick.
But right now I'm at Crunch, which is fine. It's fine. But it's so surreal to be back at the gym. Because one, everyone's wearing a mask during their workouts.
Right.
And it's hard to breathe when you're
sure.
exercising
I'm
through
sure
a mask.
because you crush it too, so I bet it must be extra hard for you.
There are times when I feel like I'm suffocating.
That's crazy.
And I asked the membership coordinator, if I feel like I'm dying or having an asthma attack, what do I do? And he said, well, look, if you need to collect yourself, you can pull the mask away for a couple seconds, take your break, take your sip of water, and then just put it back on. I was like, all right, fine. So that's sort of what I do. But it happens so often. It almost feels like I'm working out. When LeBron puts on those oxygen depleting masks
Yeah.
and runs at less oxygen? That's how I feel.
Oh, is that what he's doing? That makes you like train harder, right?
It makes your lungs. It's like wearing a weight vest on your lungs.
Right. It's like they call it it's like natural doping.
Really?
Yeah, because that's why like marathon runners, they train in high altitudes.
Right.
Because it's like the same thing. It makes your blood whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But
That's crazy.
Here's something that's really interesting about this gym. There's a woman who works out at the exact same time that I seem to every time I'm there. And she has a fake butt.
Oh, wow. I've seen that a couple times at the gym too.
Dude, I don't mean to body shame. I'm not trying to, whatever, for sure, do whatever you want. Her butt is so fucking preposterous. It is preposterous. It is so out of line with the rest of her body. And, you see fake boobs, whatever, fine. This is just, it almost makes me want to laugh.
I know. Fake boobs at least look good. They may not feel good to touch. No offense to anybody. Like they feel fine. But like a fake butt is preposterous. I
Dude,
agree.
it is the biggest thing. And it's so, her waist is very small and she exercises devoutly.
Right.
And so she's very toned and she's petite. And then she's got this bulbous, it looks like her ass is 8 months pregnant. Like it has, like the baby has dropped and now, she's tired of being pregnant and she just wants it to go.
Dude, it's so they've haven't yet found the solution to make the butt look good because it kind of looks like a Russell Stover's heart.
yeah.
Like the top of the ass is there, and then it just like disappears at the bottom. It's so weird.
So ridiculous.
It's
this
ridiculous.
thing, and I know it's fake because whenever she sits down on a bench to do her, fucking tricep extensions, it squeaks a little bit. Like she's sitting on a lifesaver or like a life preserver. There's just a little tiny squeak.
That is so crazy. That's crazy, man. But that's when it goes too far. Like I have friends who are in really, really good shape, who are like who are doing more stuff now. They're like fasting and they're like doing all this crazy shit and they look great. And I think that you have to hit a place where like you realize you are where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to maintain.
Right.
Right. And I imagine you've been in that place before. Have you been in that place where you're like, my body's where I want it. Now I just need to maintain my body? Or are you always like, there's something wrong? I can do better.
I don't know. I flirt with the idea of like, sometimes I think it'd be fun to get cast in a Marvel movie and
okay. So you just try to get huge.
to be assigned a personal trainer and just see what was possible.
Right.
You know, with that level of discipline, with a studio behind me paying for my 14 meals a day and my, I'm sure they all take steroids and stuff. It'd be fun to see what I could look like on steroids.
Totally. So, couple things. First of all, a friend of mine, what's this guy's name? Is his name Alexander Skarsgård?
Yeah.
Okay, so he was staying at her house because her sister's friends with Alexa Chung or something. They're married,
You
right?
mentioned this to me.
Maybe. So, but he would have to like bring his own food, and if they went out, like he wouldn't go. So he'd eat his last meal at like 5:00, and he would like show up with a bunch of food and shit to their house. That just seems like such a crazy fucking way to live.
Yeah.
I get it if you're doing it for a movie, but if you're doing that for your life, like that's fucking whack.
Well, so that's exactly right. I would be willing to do anything. You talk about the body transformations that Christian Bale has undertaken in his career.
It's crazy, bro.
The swings from when he did The Machinist to, putting on weight for Batman and then losing the weight again to play a POW and Rescue Dawn and all these. It's such a crazy seesaw of losing 100 pounds, gaining 100 pounds. And I heard that to lose all the weight, his diet was that he would eat a can of tuna fish and an apple
and smoke one cigarette.
And that was his day.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God, I could never do that. Well, you could do it if you were being paid $15 million to film that movie.
Money is a great motivator.
I could lose, if someone was like standing over me to ensure that I didn't reach for that package of almonds, reminding me that as long as I didn't touch it, I'd be paid enough money to be set for life. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I could fucking do it.
Dude, totally.
Can
I ask you a couple workout questions?
Yes.
All right. So first of all, do you plan your workout before you go to the gym?
I usually go in with a sense that the most recent time I went in, I did a certain part of my body,
certain muscle group,
and I will do something other than that.
Right. And you're comfortable enough around the gym where you're like, you can kind of do it on the fly. I'll do 3 sets of this, I'll do 3 sets of that, or whatever.
For me, I have a general sense of what kind of working out I can do that doesn't hurt me.
Right.
That's like my number one consideration is what can I do today where I will get home and I won't have to manage pain.
Right.
And so I kind of have started really avoiding squats.
Yeah.
Which is, I used to squat a lot, but it just, in order to not have your spine hurt, you have to have such strict form, and without someone watching over me, I don't trust that I'm not going to be in pain doing that.
Right. It's
but that isn't to say that I've written off squatting entirely. Like now what I'll do is I'll just squat, but I'll hold a kettlebell between my arms and I'll do like air squats with like a 53-pound kettlebell in my hands, and
perfectly effective.
That gets my legs, that just smokes my legs. I do sets of 20.
Totally.
But the other thing is I like to do, I think they're called circuits.
Yeah.
So I do, 3 exercises in succession. So I'll do those squats, and then I'll do my pull-ups, and then I'll do like rows, 12 reps or 15 reps each, 3 sets or 4 sets. And then I'll move on to another set of 3 exercises for 15 reps, 3 or 4 sets. And that's kind of my workout.
Yeah.
And then in between gym days, I'll hop on the Peloton or go for a run and get my cardio. Look, I know it sounds like a lot to some people, but for me, it's pretty manageable. It's just like 45 minutes to an hour of my day.
Right. And it makes you feel much better
And I do
about
like
yourself.
four times a week. And that's the way I sleep at night.
It's great, man. I love it. So yeah, I mean, dude, talking about like sort of goals and this and that and getting carried away. Like I have been at a point where I got carried away with being skinny. Like I started to look weird. Like my nose looked all big. Like you can tell when someone's getting too skinny when their facial features are all fucking weird.
Yeah.
And I'm happy that I've been there and that I know that. I like to think that like if I were to start getting carried away again, I'll remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think, it gives me a better sense of like what my goals are or whatever. And I wonder if you feel the same way, having not been able to lift weights for 7 months. Do you feel like that has given you clarity about working out and like what you need to do to be where you want to be and all that kind of stuff? Or not really?
Yeah. I think what happened was I watched as my body just changed a lot, and it became more of like a cardio person's body.
Right.
And
right.
I shrank.
Do you lose weight?
Yeah.
Like 20 pounds?
I went from about 207 to 200, 208, 207 to 200, which may not sound like a ton, but even at 207, I mean,
7 pounds of muscle is a lot of muscle.
Not to sound like it, not to suck my own dick. I always am around like 6 to 7% body fat.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're at 6 to 7% body fat and you lose 7 pounds, it's not good weight that you're necessarily losing.
Totally.
Like I didn't have any weight to lose and I lost weight.
Right.
And it just weight. It was muscle, good muscle, lean muscle that melted off me because I wasn't able to do workouts anymore.
How do you know your body fat percentage?
I'll get, every time you join a new gym, they always try to like stick you with these personal trainers. And then as part of that preliminary evaluation,
they do the body scan thing.
They do your body scan thing. And that's just always how I found out. But
nice.
Yeah.
Fucking cool, dude.
I don't know, man. I'm just happy. I'm happy to I like to lift weights a little bit.
Yeah,
not
you
a
gotta
ton,
get in there.
but enough.
Little Dude, I was thinking about this the other day. I realized that grandparents, like every time someone talks about their grandparents to me, they call them some crazy fucking thing that it sounds like they made it up. Poppy, Papo, like Noni, like fucking one of my friends calls grandpa and then grandfather. He calls him grandfather.
That's
grandmother,
bizarre.
grandfather. So I was thinking, what do you want to be called?
Great question. As a grandfather?
Yes, if you make it to that.
That's a great question. Because my parents have actually been talking to me about this because my sister is like 8 months pregnant.
Oh, wow. So they're
having these conversations. Well, first of all, I don't know that it's always up to the grandparent, right? I think what happens.
You're the one getting called that.
Yes, but here's what happens, right? That little kid, by the time they're 3 or 4, starts making sounds,
right?
And referring to the, maybe I think that my grandparents, what happened was we couldn't say their actual names because we were kids. So whatever version we tried to say, whatever came out, then that got twisted and molded a little bit, and then eventually we landed on something that sounded endearing.
So, for example, like Grandpa Harold becomes that Gapaha, so you're just calling him Gapaha.
Is that a name that you have in your family?
No, Harold is not a name that I have in my family.
Gapaha, though.
Oh, Gapaha? No, that's Grandpa Harold said by a young child. Gapaha.
Sure. That
Gapaha.
sounds like some sort of Greek dish to me.
I know. No one has the name Gapaha.
Yeah, but you're on to it. And that is, we had my mom's mom, her name was her real name was Hazel.
That's nice.
And my sister couldn't say that, so she started calling her Daisy somehow.
Grandma Daisy?
Yeah, and we just called her Daisy.
That's nice. See, I would like that. I think it would be funny to just have a new first name instead of like no or whatever. Just they call me John.
John.
What's up, John?
but dude, here's what I wouldn't want.
John.
There are so many poppies.
I know. There's a lot of poppy.
There's so many poppies. There's so many Grampies.
Yeah.
My grandfather's name was Gramps. We called him Gramps.
Dude, Gramps is really funny.
Which is funny
That's
because
like a derogatory
it's what,
name you
it's
call
what
an old person.
skateboarders say, get out of the way, Gramps.
Exactly.
When they're on the sidewalk and they're trying to grind a rail or something.
Gramps. Dude, when you were talking about Gramps the other day, and I thought that you were just kind of like jokingly saying that. I didn't realize you actually called him Gramps.
That's his nick. That was the whole family, all the cousins, everybody called him Gramps.
That's crazy.
And then my mom's dad was Grandpoo.
Grandpoo. It's like shampoo.
Grandpoo.
But Grandpoo.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, it's weird.
It's fucking crazy.
It is weird.
It's weird.
Um,
Dude, grandparents being blown away by their grandchildren is a thing I'm starting to understand more. I don't know if this is like me being old or like getting older or whatever, but it's like your kids are already crazy. Like when you have a kid and he's just like walking around looking like you and shit, like anytime he does anything, it's like the craziest thing in the world. Like if he falls down, you're like, that's fucking insane. That kid just fell down. But it's even crazier when your kids have kids. And now that kid looks like you too. Like that kid has your ass. It's like, he has my ass. Bro, they always told me I had my grandfather's ass. That like, I was like, what the fuck is
who told you that?
Everyone was like, you have Nono Gino's ass. Everyone used to say that, dude.
It's a strange thing to see the similarities of. To like focus in on private parts.
I know.
Imagine if you told some granddaughter, "Oh, you have Grammy's rack. You have the same tits as your grandmother."
Yeah, you have the same tits
like,
as
what?
grandma. Yeah, I can see your areolas poking through.
Yeah,
dude, that's fucking weird as hell.
So, all right, here's my question: Why? How do I phrase this? I've started to think about whether or not I want kids. And what sort of people firmly decide they don't versus what sort of people firmly decide that they do.
Dude, I think about this all the time. I'm happy you brought it up.
And
let's get in here.
My question is, okay, you know, I would say I fall under the camp of I always assumed that I would have kids. But I never really thought about the fact that it's sort of my choice.
It is.
I never thought about it being a choice. I thought it was sort of a coming of age. You get to a certain age and then you have kids.
Right. Just
and it's a question of like when, not if.
Totally.
So where do you fall on that? Have you ever opened up your mind to the idea that you don't have to?
Yeah.
And what forms that thinking for you?
So dude, even like my friends who have resources and have money for nannies and they have time, they still have that kid like a shackle on their right ankle. Like they can't do they're not nimble the way that I want to be nimble. So I'm kind of like, maybe I'll grow out of that. I think it's really important to have kids. Like I think I like the idea of like continuing my legacy and like my family's legacy. And like, I think that's all important to a degree. And I started to think more and more about that. But I'm also like, fuck, like when I finally have money and like whatever, and I can actually do stuff now, I'm just going to spend all that money on this kid and not be able to go anywhere and do anything. Like I want to travel. I want to like see the world. I want to do everything, you know, I want to be like Jimmy Stewart. I want to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I think about that, but then I'm also like, you know what really is going to suck? Being old as fuck and like having no one. So Chris Rock like gave an interview recently, and I think he said something about how like at the end of the day, like your friends aren't going to be there for you. Like when when you're at your bed and when you're like dying or whatever. And like the idea of like being all alone and shit, like it does scare me a little bit. And I know that's like selfish, but I think that is definitely a huge appeal to having kids. But then I also get scared that I'm going to be that, because like, dude, grandparents have seen everything and no one listens to them or wants to talk to them, which is fucked up. You know what I mean? So I'm like, partially, I'm like, I want to teach these people this wisdom, but I also don't want to be the year was 1947 and you know, whatever the fucking stupid story like grandparents would tell you will be, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, long-winded, but those are my thoughts.
Well, we've talked about the sort of the mortality of our parents before, but we haven't really talked too much about grandparents. And I had to pick up my grandfather from the hospital. And then my dad came in to the city to take care of him for a few days. My grandfather's 91 years old. His parts are breaking down.
Yeah.
And maybe I said this before, but people are not supposed to live that long.
Right.
The only reason that we are is because we've developed medicines to basically expand our lifetime in a way that, for lack of a better word, God did not mean for us to do.
Right.
It is an artificial extension in the same way that baseball players in the 1990s were not meant to hit 500-foot home runs.
Right.
And they did because they were juiced full of steroids.
Right.
So with these medical innovations, we've watched as, the actuary tables have gone from life expectancies in the 60s, 50s, whatever, now it's like 82. I don't know what it is exactly. And
Different country to country.
it is. But we've got these like blood thinning agents and cholesterol medicines and all kinds of stuff. And then we're doing liver transplants. And I can't help but wonder, at what point is it unethical or inhumane to keep someone alive? Right? Because my dad was talking to me about this after he spent the whole day with his father and his father's wife, who those two have been married for like 30 years. So my step grandmother has been my step grandmother and effectively my grandmother for my entire life.
Right.
But she is 85 going on like 50.
Oh, wow.
She is the most spry, energetic, with it person, and she'll live to 110. She
Right.
really will. She's just one of those people.
It's great.
And she refuses to acknowledge the reality that my grandfather is ailing.
Right.
And very much
Love, baby.
seems like she's in denial about it.
Of course, but wouldn't you be? Think about if your wife was like deteriorating. You would try to keep her alive.
Maybe I would. But
Maybe
dude,
I would've.
he's making
Right.
moves as if to say like, I'm ready to go.
Right.
And at a point, if that person is making that decision, who are you to tell them that they need to stay around?
Totally.
And my dad, went over there and he had to bear hug lift him out of bed, to bring him to the bathroom, to empty his bag, and then take him into the shower
Yeah.
and wash him. And
Yeah.
at a point, I mean, this is a man who, went to Yale. He was in the CIA. He's lived an incredibly full life, a very dignified life. And now he has been, he's lost his dignity. Those are undignified acts for him.
Right.
He doesn't want to be washed by his son.
Right.
He doesn't want to be placed on the toilet by his son.
Totally.
And my dad said to me, under no circumstances will I allow you to do this for me. He said, if it comes to this, I'm going to walk into the ocean. That's what he said.
My parents have said similar things to me.
He's like, I don't want to be a vegetable. I don't want to be taken care of on that level. I've already lived a full enough life. If I am becoming a burden or a source of kind of discomfort for my children, I will recognize it and I will take it into my own fucking hands.
Right.
And I admire that.
Yeah.
And there's definitely a part of me that wonders, will I fight him on that?
Of course.
Because I won't want my dad to go.
Of course.
And it also, a lot of variables, if his brain is still intact and he's communicating well and teaching, we're going to want that to stay around. But if the body breaks down and the mind breaks down, you're I personally think you're being an asshole if you kind of just keep saying to doctors, do everything you can to resuscitate them, to keep them alive, etc.
Totally. Yeah, dude, I feel you. I mean, I think that there's this is definitely a discussion that has been had, for a long time, I'm sure. There's a good movie that's sort of about this called A Separation. I don't know if you've seen it.
Mm-mm.
It won Best Foreign Film, I think, in 2015. I might be wrong in the year, but it's about a guy who's taking care of his father, and then a woman comes to help, blah, 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 blah. But dude, I know it is a crazy thing. And I think that at the end of the day, it is the offspring of the, decaying grandparent, parent, whatever, that wants to keep them alive usually.
Really?
I don't know. Like maybe the person who the decaying person isn't fit enough to even like have that conversation by that point, or if they are or aren't. Like I find that a lot of the time the prevailing thought is like, if I get to here, fucking shoot me. Like my parents will say shit like that to me, and I would never do that.
No,
like, I will try to keep my parents alive. If you know what I mean.
For against all signs.
Maybe not if they're like fully in a vegetative
Your
state.
dad is peeing his pants at the dinner table every single time you guys sit down.
But that's it. Fine, that sucks, and that sucks for him. But that doesn't mean I should take him in the woods and fucking shoot him.
No, I agree.
Dude, but it sucks for everyone.
But he goes to the hospital one day with, low key pneumonia, and the doctors are like, or he's got pneumonia and he's sick, and he's like, I don't want to go to the hospital. Let me fucking go.
I think that if he says that with conviction, there's a point where you have to respect that request.
So what would you fight him on?
I would be like, no, we're taking you to the hospital. Come on. If he was just like calm and like, no, this is it, or some shit like that, I'm sure I'd have to reassess. But in my head, this is the thing that freaks me out, of course, because I'm like, I don't want to have to be in this situation where I'm making this decision.
Right. But I also don't want my enduring memory of my father to be the last 2 months of his life where he was sort of, coming undone.
Totally. No,
and
sure.
have it be, because that is where my dad is kind of at, which is that I wouldn't go so far as to say that he's starting to resent his father, but these final memories are so powerful and difficult that it is overclouding the life of accomplishment and the memories and the adventures that they had together in younger years.
Right.
And I have such a fond feeling about my father from when I was a child through now.
Right.
And I'm excited and hope that he will meet my children and be a wonderful force in their life.
Mm-hmm.
But once he becomes, if he becomes a true invalid, who cannot survive without the help of,
a team
of people or whatever, I don't know that I.
Right. Like that's not your dad anymore.
Exactly.
I know.
That's it.
And I think part of that is there's something about that in my mind that seems designed for that. In a situation where, a parent kind of like deteriorates and then eventually passes away, it feels like that process sort of makes that easier. Like the process where they like are no longer themselves, both for them and for you, even though it can be painful in its own right. Like it sometimes feels like it could be easier to say goodbye to someone who literally isn't your parent anymore.
Yeah.
And also easier for your parent if they've lost it a little bit in the head. They don't know what the fuck's going on. Maybe that is easier for them too. I don't know.
Right.
I really don't know. But obviously it's a crazy thing to think about and talk about. And it becomes a realer and realer thought as I get older,
Yeah. Yeah, it really does. Do you have any grandparents left alive?
No. But they had good runs. I mean, like actually that's not true. My grandfather on my mom's side passed away when she was like a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
So he had been gone for many years. But both my grandmothers made it very far, and my father's father, I think, lived to be 98.
Holy cow.
So yeah, I don't know. We got a nice little package today, didn't we?
Sure did.
Dude.
Little Christmas came early situation from our pals over at Bird Dogs.
Dude, seriously, like earlier in the year, I denounced jeans.
Did you?
Yeah, I don't know if you knew this about me.
No.
But I'm serious. I told my girlfriend.
I don't know if I've ever seen you wearing jeans, though.
I know. I told my girlfriend I'm never wearing jeans again. And I told that to my dad, and he was like, you sound like a fucking old man, dude. He's like, you just gave up. But my girlfriend heard me say that, and she bought me a pair of athleisure pants for our anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
Bird Dogs.
She bought you Bird Dogs?
She bought me Bird Dogs.
Oh, good.
And I've been wearing them, and I'm really excited that I just got a new pair in because this is the future of my fashion.
Yeah, when you have only one pair, you kind of feel like an asshole because that's the only pair of pants that you end up wearing.
Correct.
So to get a couple more pairs really helps you kind of round out the wardrobe.
Dude, it's hilarious. Like I literally texted her. I was like, I'm going to go to sleep in these because you literally can. I'm not even joking. If there were a situation where like sweating didn't make shit gross, you could literally run a marathon, come home, sit at dinner, and then go to bed all in the same pants. And I think that's incredible.
Yeah, they are really good pants for exercising in if that's what you need to do, or sleeping if you really feel the need to sleep in pants. I don't feel that way, but Giulio clearly wants to just do as little as he can, and bird dogs are the best pants for that. So,
but the best way to do that while looking like you do care, even though you do not care to ever change once.
Yeah.
And I really mean this from the bottom of my heart.
Yeah, we really like them. Go to birddogs.com and use promo code OOPS, and you'll get a free pair of nunchucks with your first order. Definitely do it now, because you don't want to live much longer without having a pair of pants that clearly you can just totally give up in.
Correct.
Yeah.
While also having a weapon in case anybody questions your decision making in your
Hell
life.
yeah. Birddogs.com, promo code OOPS.
Check it out.
When what is the age that you think of when you think, if I get to this age, I will have lived a complete life, and then anything on the other side of that is gravy?
So
and if I die at that, I'm ready to go after that.
Right.
What's your age for that?
I don't know. And I say I don't know, but I'm going to explain. I don't know, but like I could see myself being that like 85-year-old guy who brags about how I have the heart of a 60-year-old or something. If I do, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I can see myself being the guy who like wants to milk it until he can't anymore, until I like fall down the stairs and break my hip, and then I'm like, fuck, like this is the beginning of the end or whatever. I would love to stay nimble and agile and able to experience new things with people that I love for as long as possible. Mm-hmm. But, certainly there comes a time and an age where you're just like, maybe you're over the hill. So I'd like to make that age later rather than younger. But like, if I make it to 90, I'd be fucking overjoyed.
Well, yeah. I mean, okay. Mine was 80. My age is 80.
Right.
Where if I get to that age and then the day after my 80th birthday, I get a cold, I'll be like, that's it.
That's it. I think it's so easy to say.
It's easy to say now, of course. Who knows? Maybe my daughter will be, on the eve of having her first child, and that'd be an old daughter. Or she'd be old to have a child at that age. But I don't know. Maybe there's some event that I'd be waiting to hold on for.
Right. No, I feel you on that. But dude, it fucks me up when because I've seen older people who are like totally cool about the prospect of passing away. Like I'd go to Italy to visit my grandparents, and then when I leave, like when we went through security, my grandfather would always be like, "If I don't see you again," he goes, "I see you on the other side." Yeah, you know what I mean? Like there's something reassuring about like an elderly person who's like not that afraid of death.
Yeah.
But there's something that really fucks me up about an elderly person who is afraid of death. That fucks me up.
I don't know anyone like that.
I have seen that before, and it like freaks me out.
I have to say that right now at 31, I don't really fear death that much.
Really?
I have gotten to an age at 31 where I feel like I've lived a pretty complete life.
Right.
Now, there are some major areas to discover, namely the joy of watching a child be born and raising a kid. And, I think there's a lot left in my career that I want to see how far I can get. But everything up to this point has been, I don't have a whole lot of regrets. I mean, I feel as if I've squeezed the life out of almost everything that I've done. Mm-hmm. I have not sat idly by and watched my life move forward.
Right.
I have not been some inactive participant in the world around me.
Totally. That's great.
I'm very grateful for that. And it also gives me peace that, if some outside force, if I were walking along the street someday and some construction site 70 stories above me dropped a fucking bucket of cement and it landed on me, what can you do? Like, you can't prepare for that, and that would be it.
Totally. And that's, dude, yeah.
And there would be enough material for my eulogist to fucking say meaningful things. He wouldn't be grasping at straws. And that is a source of happiness for me.
That's great, man. That's great. I think so. I feel the same way to a degree. And like, maybe our listeners feel this way too, but my girlfriend will always be like, what the fuck? Like, how many lives have you lived? Like, I'll tell her some story about how it used to be or something. And like, I don't, whatever. I've certainly done a lot of shit, but I don't feel that way that you do. I feel like I still have so much more to do, and like the prospect of like dying today, I'm not fine with that.
Okay. So what is left for you to do?
See the world, experience new shit, like have fun.
We've talked about this before, but how actively are you pursuing those things?
Very actively.
Right.
Yeah.
Everyone always asks me when they meet, they know about our podcast. They always say like, where is Giulio? They're like, is he back?
Right.
Because everyone's like, they see pictures of you in fucking Utah or Alaska or North Dakota.
Right. So, dude, yeah, like there's an example of how I'm doing it actively. I mean, as far as like travel goals are concerned, I mean, that's certainly not like my primary goal. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? I feel like you have to do things in moderation to a degree, but like, I'd like to, I've tried to travel as much as I could during quarantine. Before that, I was trying to go to like 6 or 7 different countries a year.
That's really a heavy plate of
I know,
traveling.
but it's not as heavy as you would think. Like, you do 2 big trips a year and you can bang that out.
Right.
So I don't know, whatever. So I'm definitely pursuing that. I love my friends. I love, doing shit. I don't know, man. I enjoy living my life. And,
Yeah.
I feel like I have a lot of hobbies. Same with career. Like, it's so fun. Like, the one good thing about what we do is like, there's so many question marks, which is terrible, but also really fun when it works out. Like, you don't know what opportunities are going to come up for you in the next year.
Mhm.
It's not the same as a traditional trajectory. Because of that, there's a lot more kind of like fear about like, oh my God, what if I have absolutely nothing going on? That
Yeah.
like hangs over my head at least. And I know some other people in our industry as well. I don't know if it's the same for you, but like sometimes I'm like, fuck, like I need to keep this going, whatever. I don't know. And I certainly am looking forward to that too. I don't know. And also, like you said, family is a thing that's potentially exciting as well. Like having kids, doing shit with them. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. There's so much talk about having a kid changing your perspective on things. I would be curious to see, what if I'm the one guy who has a kid and I was like, it was all bullshit. This didn't change shit. It was, what's all the fuss? They're all lying to you.
Yeah, they pieces
Like,
of
what
shit.
if it didn't move me at all?
Yeah, I give them the shirt off my back. They don't fucking care.
Yeah.
They don't even visit.
No, but I'm not even saying like angry.
No,
just
no.
being like,
Oh, like that wasn't that great.
it was net zero. Just being totally indifferent.
So I think that by having kids, it takes some of that pressure off of your mortality a little bit. And I think that maybe is almost another one of nature's little gifts.
Ooh, but I don't necessarily know, because I think that if I had kids, then I would feel very obligated to be around for them.
Totally. And I think that, the way it's set up, if you were to have kids at a conventional age, you theoretically could be during their sort of like formative years and then into early adulthood, into this and this and that. And like suddenly your concern becomes about their well-being, which in theory should continue far beyond when you're gone.
Yep. Okay. That makes sense. I get that. There, right now, if you're talking about the barrier of entry for death, which on a surface level is how many people in your life would be traumatized if you were to pass away.
I think about that.
How many people in your life would they be really fucked up for a long time?
Right.
Because that's the toll of it.
Totally. This idea that there's this like this emptiness in part of their life because I'm gone.
Right. I think that right now, before kids, this is the period where, as sad as this sounds, I have kind of like the least amount of barrier for entry.
Barrier for entry for what?
Like people would get over it the easiest.
Oh, if you
if I died tomorrow.
I don't think that that's true. And I wouldn't say this to everyone. There's some people where I'd be lying if I said that. Which is fucked up. But dude, I actually think you're a committed friend. You're a committed friend. You spend a lot of time maintaining your relationships with friends, especially friends who are like out of the business, where like you have nothing to like tangibly gain from it besides companionship and friendship. And you're
okay.
really,
but let's think about it, right? Yes, my girlfriend it'd be a bummer.
Yeah.
It'd be a huge bummer to her. My parents, big bummer.
Yeah.
Sister, huge bummer.
We'd be bummed too.
You guys would start a new podcast. you'd be fine. I'm not saying like you're callous and unfeeling. I'm saying you guys are resilient young people.
Right. Yeah.
And that goes for most of the people who know me. There wouldn't, on my birthday every year, there wouldn't be some vigil at my doorstep of people who just, you'd watched as their lives declined because they couldn't come to terms with it.
Right.
And I think that when you have young kids or, until your kids get to like 30 or whatever, it's traumatic. It's earth shattering if a parent dies.
Right.
And so that's why I say, and then when you're a kid, if you die, it's the worst.
Yeah.
Kids dying is the worst.
Yeah.
So right now, before kids, but surrounded mostly by people who are resilient and old enough to be able to handle it, I think that if I died tomorrow, it would have the least ripple effect of up to this point in my life.
That's fair. That's fair. Because you've grown up to an age now where it is unfortunately less tragic if you die today than if you died 15 years ago.
People would be able to say like, "Oh, you lived a full fucking life."
That's true.
And then once I have kids, it sort of restarts where the stakes are very high and I have to walk carefully around subways and stuff until maybe I'm 70 years old. And hopefully I've set aside some money for my kids and,
Yeah.
So there's going to be another 35-year period soon where I can't die.
Right. That's crazy.
Isn't that weird?
That's crazy.
So
That's fucking crazy.
If I'm gonna die in the next 40 years, I should do it now. I should do it now. Look, I am able to philosophize.
Chris is sweating
these things.
over here.
It's an abstraction. It's like, I'm able to step out of my own life and consider these things. But and I don't mean to get super dark, but I do think that this is a fascinating.
Definitely.
When you think about where are the consequences worst for passing away. And by the way, that's why like people, it's an extension of why people say like, if I'm going to experiment with drugs, I should do it now. Or even if I'm going to travel, I should do it now. This is just a bleaker way, a more morbid way to answer that same question.
Totally.
Because soon I will have people who rely on me.
Yes.
In a way that I cannot take that lightly.
Definitely. It's crazy, man. So listen, you got a little window here if you want to call it quits, dude. Man. Chris is
do you have a will? Do you have a will?
No. Do you?
Yeah.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
You already have one?
Yeah, and not to get really weird, like in dealing with some of the money that my parents have coming my way, if they're to pass, I had to set up a system where almost like a mail forwarding address,
right?
Where like if I were to pass, who would that money then go to? Let's say that they died and then I died. It's all going to my sister,
right? But wouldn't that happen automatically?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Because you could, once I get married, I'll have to I'll rework it.
Gotcha.
But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily next of kin.
Right.
And all of that.
There's some someone was telling me about this the other day, but that is crazy, man. I don't know. Do you think about your funeral ever?
All the time.
I know that this is a thing that everybody does, to the point where it's almost like a cliche thing to bring up.
I think about it all the time.
But what does your funeral look like to you? Do you, before you answer that, do you think that you will have explained to people how you want it to be?
No, I'm not going to tell people how I want my funeral to be. I think that's the height of narcissism. that takes wedding planning and it makes it look like it's a 10x multiplier on how fucking ridiculous wedding plans, super self-serving weddings are.
That is funny.
Planning your own fucking funeral makes destination weddings in the middle of COVID look like a decent gesture to your friends, a fair ask.
That's funny.
But I do think about it. I don't want some really sort of I think moribund is the right word. I don't want some super tragic, heavy organ music, people filing into pews. Certainly don't want any sort of open casket thing. My girlfriend, whose father passed away, they had a celebration of life, and I much prefer that.
That's very nice. That's very nice.
Yeah. You think about being cremated or buried?
Yeah, I don't know that I want to be cremated, dude.
Are you fearful of the burning of the soul?
Like maybe, I don't know. I try not to like think about the specifics of that kind of shit yet.
I think.
What about you?
I think I'd like to be cremated.
Really?
Yeah. I just think that I like that image of someone scattering my ashes into the ocean or something, some body of water that I was fond of.
Yeah.
And then-
I've done it. I've sprinkled the ashes of a loved one where they wanted to.
Dude, I'm sorry to laugh. The scene in The Big Lebowski where they go to spread his ashes and it all blows back in his face. Is one of the
It's so,
funniest things.
dude, that happened to Benny D, one of our friends, Ben DeMarco. He was in Paris and it had begun snowing and he stuck his tongue out and it turned out that like it wasn't snowing. Someone had poured ashes off of the Eiffel Tower.
Are you fucking kidding
Isn't
me?
that crazy? Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
There
Yeah.
should be some sort of prohibition on
I know. Doing that.
scattering ashes off of the Eiffel Tower.
I know. It's true. It's crazy. It's a crazy story.
So
Dude,
you've done it? You've spread
I've
someone's
sprinkled
ashes?
someone's ashes. We're in a place that they wanted to.
Was there a gathering?
No, I just did it myself. It was
Did
in
people
Arizona.
know?
Yeah, it wasn't her. Okay, so her ashes have been sort of
Certain
rationed.
people had
I had a small
partitioned. Yeah,
amount.
yeah,
So with
yeah.
my share,
Mhm.
and I didn't use all of them. I used a percentage and then kept the rest still.
Oh, you kept some.
Mhm.
Mm.
I know. This is crazy. It's kind of
Had
weird.
she told you that was what she wanted?
Yes.
Did she have specific directions for everyone who received a share?
No. She kind of just like said it to us, like.
Did
But I
other
planned it
people?
out.
Did other people who had it also do what you did?
I think that they want to also do it eventually, but I believe I'm the only person who
Okay,
has.
so it's almost as if everyone has the right to make this trip and honor her that way, which is
yeah,
kind of nice.
yeah, it's a nice thing.
Hmm.
But dude, this is funny. Like I was thinking about this. The word PSALM,
Psalm.
psalm, yes, and I assumed that was how it was pronounced. But I was walking around for 20 years saying facade instead of facade. Like I don't like. Sometimes I'm serious. Like occasionally a word will just slip by.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
facade, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I checked with Psalm to make sure. So I typed in Psalm prawn, and don't do that because prawn in the Google search it will come up as Psalm porn, and it was just like nun gets banged in the back of a church. I was like, Jesus.
Wait, I'm confused. Why did you type in Psalm prawn?
To make sure that it was pronounced that way. Pronunciation.
Prawn.
Pronunciation.
You didn't just finish the Google search?
That's a fucking long word, dude. I was just quickly like Psalm prawn. It says Psalm pronunciation.
I don't know many. Okay. I mean, I would have just written, how do you pronounce Psalm into Google?
Right.
I
Which is more words though. I was trying to optimize. I was typing it on my phone. It was a pain in the ass. I might have been on the subway and like I was afraid I was about to lose service going between stops.
Yeah.
Sompron.
Fine. I like to give Google enough where if I've mistyped something, they say, didn't you mean? Or they'll say, showing search results for
Same.
this. It's funny you say that though, because there was a saying that I mislearned and nobody corrected me on for years. And it was prenup.
What did you call it? Prenup?
I thought it was pre-nut,
Pre-nut?
which I thought was just,
A pre-nut.
no. Excuse me.
Pre-nut. It sounds like pre-cum.
That's exactly what
You thought it was pre-cum.
I thought.
Pre-nut.
Pre-cum was pre-nut because I knew to nut was to come.
Pre-nut.
And then somebody was like, no, prenup is actually something, a binding sort of lays out the stipulations for if a divorce happens.
It doesn't mean you're a leaky boy.
And I was like, that is not at all what comes out of my penis. There's no paperwork, surely. Just scrolling out like the chimney that kids get their invitations to Hogwarts from.
Who gets what? That's
Yeah.
hilarious, dude. But it's true. Like even like when I read about politics or about news or whatever, like there's certain world leaders' names who I don't know how it sounds. I just know what it looks like.
Yeah.
So I maybe wouldn't even know. Like if I were to talk about it, I might sound ignorant because I might say their name wrong,
Right.
even though I like know quite a bit about it or something.
Right.
You know?
Here's something. I've noticed that with people of other races, and I understand this. If you act, so there's a guy that I play golf with. His name is Bo, and he's Indian.
Got it.
And then there's another Indian member that we're also very good friends with named Devesh. And the two of them are very, very close friends. And I was playing golf with Bo, and we were talking about Devesh, and I'm friends with Devesh as well. And I accidentally, right shortly after having that conversation about Devesh, accidentally called Bo Devesh. Or I started to, and I was like, it's Bo. And he, of course, turned it into a thing.
Oh, was he actually upset?
Not really. But, he
we all
went
look
to
the same?
like all Indian people look this. You would think all Indian people look the same.
Right.
And I understand where that comes from, which is people having said that all Indian people look the same, which is fucking ridiculous, obviously, and extend it to any other race. But I've noticed that every race does that.
Yes.
Other than white people.
And it makes me wonder, though, if you had a golfing situation where there was two white guys who you golfed with only, would you make that same mistake? And you might, actually.
Dude, I've mistaken white people's names billions of times in my life. I've accidentally called someone like so and so when they're like, no, that's him or her.
Absolutely.
And
it's innocent.
And like, especially with women, they'll get annoyed because they think you're being like you didn't care enough to commit their name to memory. But they're not like, what do you think? All women look the same? They don't say that.
100%. Have you ever forgotten a person's name while you were like sleeping with them and have them call you out on it?
I don't know about sex. I don't know that I've forgotten someone's name by the time we got to that point.
Right.
But yeah, certainly like, maybe we're making out or, enough where I was like, oh, I don't think I can go any further until I figure this out.
Dude, so it's happened to me twice. And it's happened mid-sex, and it's also happened like the next day. And they're very different experiences.
Someone quizzed you on their name during intercourse?
During intercourse. And it's funny because...
How did she fucking... What could you have said that would make her think maybe he doesn't know my fucking name?
I was drunk, and did you know what's funny? I forgot. And it was just because I was really drunk, probably. Not because I just didn't, or maybe I just fucking forgot. I don't know. But when she asked me, I said, what? To buy myself some time. And I started looking around the room for things that had her name on it. I sound like a dick. But then there was nothing. And I was like, I don't know. And we continued to have sex, but there was a noticeable letdown where the sex was good. And then she was like, all right, whatever. Let's just keep going.
I mean, first of all,
listen,
hat off to her for forging ahead, because I think that for a lot of people that would sort of be like, this is done.
Right.
They would, shut the door at that moment. But
I defended myself a bit. I was like, listen, I'm like, I like you. I think this is great. I'm having a great time.
Yeah.
I'm hammered. I forgot your name.
It is a unfortunate. I think it's just a different thing where I don't mind at all if people don't remember my name, but
I don't care either.
Not for nothing. You and I have very distinct names.
Yeah.
That people don't forget.
True, but it's hard for people to get. For me, it's hard for them to get to the point where they even know how to say it at all.
Okay.
Which sucks, but whatever. I don't get mad at them for it.
But usually, 99.999% of the time, you and I are the only Francis or Giulio that person meets that night.
Or ever.
Yeah.
But yes, definitely.
And so we are coming from a position of let's call it privileged name uniqueness.
Yes.
Whereas I do think that for all the Lauras and Sams and Joes and Annas out there, you've got to give people a longer leash. And if people, I understand that if people are constantly forgetting your name, it would be frustrating. But the same reason, there's a reason they're forgetting your name. It's because they've met so many of them.
Right. Or it's just so many people in general too.
Yeah.
Right. Totally, dude. It's not the end of the world.
But to your point, forgetting the name during sex. Wait, what happened the next day when you forgot the name?
So the next day it was bad. She was like, wow. somehow that sex being over and us being sober, it like makes it a completely different ball game. And that was like a bad situation.
Okay, fine.
She was
But
pissed.
if she knew that that would be something that bothered her infinitely, would be to wake up next to a man having slept with him who didn't remember her name, she should have quizzed you before you guys started.
I agree.
That's how I feel.
I agree. And it's also bad energy to be putting out in the world, like thinking that you're forgettable. Like, who cares if I forgot? I don't care if you forgot. You know what I mean? I didn't quiz you.
It's important to clarify that forgetting someone's name does not necessarily mean that you don't care about them.
Absolutely. Especially when it's that, like in our society, like sometimes you go out and you go home with someone.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you didn't like it or don't like them or don't care.
Yeah, exactly. And
I'm going to go home and do my due diligence and figure it out.
yeah,
You know?
and I guarantee that if you were to see that girl again, you would know her name. You're not just going to continue
100%.
moving forward with this person, expecting to have sex with them and not ever worry that you have to learn their name.
100%.
You're not that much of a fucking, you're a good dude. So I don't know. That's a very funny thing, and I understand it from both sides a little bit. But I would say that to anyone who gets offended that someone has forgotten your name, it's not necessarily that they did it intentionally. And nor does it mean that you're necessarily forgettable. Names are hard to remember.
Yeah.
Think about when you were in fucking U.S. history class. How easy was it for you to memorize the names of all the fucking presidents?
Not easy.
Not easy. That's a difficult thing to do. If you handed me note cards when we met and you were like, yo, this is my name. These are the 6 other people you're going to meet tonight. Commit them to memory. I would have no problem forgetting your name. Or I love it when people wear name tags
Yeah.
at
Absolutely.
events. That's really
Absolutely.
quite nice.
Pick it up. Hey, I'm Francis. Written on a card.
Bingo.
Bingo.
Okay, that's Oops the Podcast. Bring us out, Giulio, please.
Guys, thank you very much for tuning in. Oops the Podcast. We got merch. Check it out on our website, oopsthepodcast.com. Dropping tonight, 7 o'clock. We got hoodies, we got t-shirts, we got masks. Cop some shit. Enjoy it.
Yeah, load up.
You know,
Buy
get in
some for
there.
the friends, the family, the kids, the grandchildren, just so they can remember you.
Absolutely. We're really enjoying reading all your emails and your DMs. Keep sending them. At Oops the Podcast, oopsthepodcast@gmail.com. I'm not Julio. He is Francis CC Ellis on Instagram. Hit us up. And thank you for listening.
Goodbye. Hey, thanks for watching that video, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. If you liked it, subscribe to our channel or check out some of these other great clips.
Oops.